What's going on, everybody? This is Raw Dog Sports. I am Mike. That is Evo. But Lieutenant Dan, you ain't got no legs. And we are ready to dive into the NFL schedule. A lot of things that we're going to talk about today. A lot of controversy. Pete Rose, Colorado Rockies. We're going to talk about rookie minicamps. Derek Carr, NBA playoffs. But the big topic today is going to be that NFL schedule, how our team's schedule will kind of shake out. Any teams that are kind of getting fucked real hard and some teams that are getting cakewalks. But my man, Evo, welcome in, brother. It's been a little while since we talked. How you doing? Your Wolves still going good. And I got to tell you, I love that hat. Not a Wolves fan, but that hat's fire.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Tired. Lots of work. Barely was able to get home in time to get the show on the road. But super stoked to be here. I'm just positive right now about a lot of things within the realm of Minnesota sports. Like, it's a very odd feeling, and it makes me feel like something bad's about to happen. But because I don't get this feeling very often. But yeah, my Wolves are killing it. Twins have made one hell of a U-turn, doing good there. And then, of course, focusing on this upcoming NFL season. I'm very positive about opportunities for my team, so I'm stoked about that. Yeah, happy to be here, happy to get into some of this stuff, and hopefully I don't get too heated today about anything.
I think there's something you'll get heated about, but I'm excited for it. But before we start diving into the world of sports, I want to take a second to give a congratulations to you, my man. You had a big accomplishment, big honor bestowed upon you this week. For people that have maybe are new to the show or have been around for a while. We're both veterans. You still active in the aviation community, very active, so active that you were just named to the Order of St. Michael, which is a massive honor for Army aviators. So congratulations, man. That is a huge accomplishment. That's badass.
I appreciate that. And thank you to Sexy Time Tours, Shotgun Tours, whatever we want to call them, for kind of making that happen and putting me up for that. I'm not a huge awards type of person. I've never really been a fan of standing up and getting accolades from people, because it just makes me feel awkward. But one of the things that I've kind of always wanted or been like, that's something I want to shoot for, is becoming a part of the Order of St. Michael, which is big in the aviation community. And so I was able to get that yesterday, be inducted into Order of St. Michael. So that was exciting for me, because that's one of those benchmarks career-wise that I've wanted to shoot for. So excited about that, happy for that, and just really proud of myself and the accomplishments, and realistically the people that I've had around me who have supported me. They've just been such a huge part of it. So very stoked about that.
Oh yeah, brother. Congratulations very much. But with that, let's start diving into the show a little bit, and we're going to kind of change the way this happens. This is going to be a far out kind of thing that happens, far left field, you could even say, because we're going to talk baseball. I'm going to say something real quick. The Colorado Rockies suck. They're an atrocious baseball team. They're on pace to be worse than the White Sox. And I said that last week. Go check out the short that we put out, or last week's show. We talked about it. Very good. Very, very good. But you actually have a baseball story that you want to talk about that has got you here. You want to get off of your chest. So, my man, this is very rare. You, as a passive baseball fan, this doesn't happen very often. So I'm going to relinquish the floor. Take it away.
Yeah, so we had Rob Manfred come out a few days ago and speak about lifetime bans, specifically guys like Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson, who they've received lifetime bans for different things in baseball, and that only extends to while they are alive, and now they are eligible to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. We've talked about, specifically Pete Rose before, when he passed, and about his accomplishments in baseball. But for those who don't know, he was accused of and caught gambling on baseball, not as a professional player, but, as a coach and whatnot. And because of that, the hitting champion has been outside of the Hall of Fame for years. And we've, talked about the moralities and stuff of that. And, you know, it's not an argument of did he do something wrong or not, but just whether or not the accolades that he did earn as a player still warrant him being in the Hall of Fame, or what sort of punishments and things like should come from that. Shoeless Joe Jackson, his team was accused of and uh, caught essentially rigging the World Series. That being said, Shoeless Joe and those teammates were all basically um, and I had to get into my history on this. The first commissioner of baseball, who was not a baseball guy, was a judge, was appointed. Uh, he basically found them not guilty of the charge. However, banned them all for life from baseball and the Hall of Fame and everything. And Shoeless Joe, in particular, was considered to be one of the least culpable who was caught in that dragnet. Um, Obviously, cheating, throwing games, and stuff like that. It's terrible. It's bad for the sport. It's a bad look in general. Um, but it's these guys who have received these lifetime bans that Manfred basically came out and said, this only extends while you are alive. Now they are freed from this burden. Um, I know there's been calls for a while, and I've been one of those who have been like, I think that Rose and his accomplishments in particular absolutely warrant him to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Like, everyone knows that as a player, he is one of the best. Like, the accolades that he had as a player warrant Hall of Fame status. Like, if you want to put an asterisk next to it and say he also got in trouble in his post playing career, I understand that. Like, I get it, because he did fuck up. No one's arguing that either. Uh, Albeit never gambling on his team necessarily. It was other teams, but neither here nor there. It's against the rules. What really struck me wrong was the way that Manfred talked about it. That maybe it was just bad wording, but and it mixed with the fact that I also think the guy's a colossal douchebag, and has been bad for the sport of baseball, and that this is a way that he thinks that he can save some face, uh, give the fans what they want, but also try to hold true to baseball and their previous rulings. And it was talking about that, just the punishment only extends while the player is alive. It's they were banned. I don't know the exact wording. I can't think of the exact wording. It wasn't considered a lifetime ban originally. It was permanent ban in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And now he's saying it's a lifetime ban, and we are not going to have these players banned once they're dead. I we had a lot of back and forth about this. I think the moralities of the statement are asinine. Like, just real shitty thing. Rob Manfred, I thought was a terrible baseball commissioner, and I think that he's kind of a shit person now. Like, to hold court over a man and his life and his accolades, and to now feel like because you're the commissioner of baseball that you get to start to delineate a person's worth, and the only thing that frees you from your punishment is death, and that he somehow gets to decide that seems like bigger than baseball to me. And at what point are we going to start looking at some of the other moralities involved with this? I spoke about Shoeless Joe Jackson in particular, and that whole situation, and the commissioners of baseball. Kennesaw Mountain Landis was that first.
I knew his first name. I did not remember the rest of that shit.
Kennesaw Mountain Landis. He was the first baseball commissioner in 1944. African Americans couldn't play baseball then. There was extreme racial issues during his time as commissioner. they didn't get the opportunity to become part of the major leagues until after, I believe it was like a year after he was no longer the commissioner. And I think by most examples, yes, it was a different time, but by most, people's views, that was a shitty thing that baseball did, right? Exclude the Negroes from baseball. Pretty terrible. But that guy immediately got into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
If we want to go back and start looking at things in time differently and basing things on life and death, and they're like, I don't care that Kennesaw Mountain Landis is dead. He should not be in the Hall of Fame because of what he did. Right. If we want to start,
if you want to do that,
if we want to talk about the moralities of life and death and things like that, after death, he should still be judged differently than when he was alive. Pete Rose shouldn't be judged differently being alive or dead. He's one of the greatest baseball players ever. And I don't think that he should be freed from the shackles of his punishment just because he died. I think that there should be some other standard, or at least like it is so tough to put in words. Just it's the way that Manfred just somehow delineates when a person is alive or dead. That changes whether or not the punishment stands or goes away.
Well, I told you in our text I was going to keep this kind of short, but you bring up a point here. This can never go back now. Like now that he said this out loud, where people have heard it, if he gets in, it's because he's dead. What are they going to say? They're going to say, "Oh no, we're going to change the rules." If there's no way to work around it now. So now essentially Rob Manfred is the bearer that says, okay, if you die, you can get into the Hall of Fame. Which is it's a disgusting display of power, in my opinion. So I'll turn it back over to you. I only got one other thing to say.
Yeah, like I think what I had said to you in our text message, which I'll repeat now, is kind of what stands to me most, and that's what's more morally reprehensible, cheating or gatekeeping someone's legacy behind with the price of admission being their death. Like I think the latter is way more morally reprehensible to me. But I bet you that once Manfred's gone, he's going to get elected to the Hall of Fame, even though I wouldn't argue that he did great things for baseball. And we obviously have our thoughts about steroids in baseball, right?
Yes.
Is it cheating? Yes. Was it fun? Yes. We saw some insane acts of hitting from McGuire, Bonds, Sosa. And then those guys are, if I'm not incorrect, they're banned from the Hall of Fame, right?
They're not banned per se. So some of them didn't get elected. I don't know if any of those guys are still on the ballot or even eligible. But if you're on the ballot for 10 years and you don't get elected, you fall off the ballot. Then you have to wait for like another version, the Legends version, maybe if you get there. It's a very complicated process, and the Baseball Writers of America are notoriously cunts. So there's no telling what's going to happen.
Well, it brings into the question of cheating, which I don't feel that Pete Rose necessarily cheated. He gambled. He broke a rule.
Yeah.
But he didn't cheat. He didn't throw games. The question is, Shoeless Joe Jackson, he might have been a part of throwing games.
Right.
And now that he's eligible for the Hall of Fame, it'll be interesting to see if he gets inducted or not. I think Rose is going to happen.
So I think Rose is going to happen eventually. I would not be surprised if Shoeless Joe goes in first, because there's a chance that he wasn't really involved and he just got swept up in the masses. Everybody knows what Rose did. Rose admitted what he did. Now, people don't necessarily believe that was all that he did, but he came out and said, yeah, I gambled on baseball. But I don't know, man. I would not be surprised if the Baseball Writers of America decide to keep Pete Rose out for a longer period of time just to prove a point.
I don't know. I feel like once they're in, that you very well could have one of those players be like, I guess if I need to atone for my sins, and carry my legacy for myself and my family, I'll just put a bullet in my fucking head. And baseball is going to be like, oh, that poor soul. We don't know why they came to that length of killing themselves. When realistically, they're the ones gatekeeping and putting some sort of pressure on them, and now setting that delineating line of being life and death on things. It just seems like a terrible fucking way to go about things to me personally.
Man, I agree with you. If you don't have anything else, I'll wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
So in continuing fashion of us doing kind of the opposite things where you kind of rant about baseball, Rob Manfred, suck my dick from the back. Let's move on to some other things. Talked a little bit about the Rockies. They are historically bad. They're on pace to be worse than the White Sox were last year. They've already fired their manager, and this is not the NFL. Firing your manager in the midseason doesn't necessarily provide a huge boost in Major League Baseball. These guys are going to be floundering all year, and that is a ballpark where people can hit it out anytime they want. Their pitching's bad. They don't hit well enough. That team's in a load of trouble. That, if you go check out the clip that we made, Evo, the spliff and the beer thing might have to be they're going to have to start giving those out to get people in the seats with how bad this fucking team is.
Yeah, man. Look, the White Sox right now, 14-30, second worst record in baseball. They got better from last year, but not that much. The Rockies, 7-36 currently. Terrible. Absolutely terrible baseball. If they somehow make some weird turnaround, we're going to have to ask about the Major League movies and if this is somehow history and in a film writing itself into reality. But they just look terrible. They're just really, really bad. And it's not a good look for baseball. That's in general, like NFL, we have parity. And yes, you see some teams like, the Detroit Lions of old, your Browns, who have had seasons where it's, no wins, one win, things like that. It's much more palatable and over a season of 17 games than it is when you're talking about triple digits of games. And we might see a team here in the Rockies who still is yet to hit double digit wins and have one of the lowest totals of wins ever. I don't know how you get butts and seats at all. It's bad for baseball. Like you are always going to have bad teams in every sport, but having them be this bad without some sort of an easy turnaround in the future available, and in a sport where the contracts are just so insane and realistically ownership willing to shit out money for this sort of stuff, causing your team to be good, you have to really start looking at the owners there. This isn't just like front office. This is, you guys can't draft, you can't pay players. What the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, everything about it is bad. Well, and it doesn't help that there's always a perception that people that play for the Rockies or come from the Rockies organization, they never translate anywhere else. And for the most part, that's kind of true because that's a hitter's ballpark. Those dudes have monster years there, then they go elsewhere, and it doesn't translate. I remember Tulowitzki was a big name that went to Boston, never panned out. So it's going to be tough for the Rockies and the Rockies fans to get people to go. I hate the idea of having teams move, getting teams moved from one city to another. But my goodness, like they can't do any, like it is such a tough perception. That stadium, that organization, they don't pay anybody. They got close 1 year to a World Series. So they're just going to be one of those struggling middling teams for a long, long time.
Yeah, look, Coors Field is cool there in Colorado. Obviously, it is a hitter's park because of probably the altitude and the ability for the ball to fly a little bit further. It always sucks when you got to talk about like, hey, a necessary change of ownership. But you see some franchises in the NFL, they change ownership, Washington, and all of a sudden things fucking immediately kickstart. It seems like this team needs a new owner and needs a financial injection bad. Because, yeah, you are getting a hitting advantage by playing there regularly. Like, why not take advantage of it? They've been a team for a minute. People know about it. It would have been, they would have tried to move the team if that was too much of an advantage. Just find someone who's willing to inject some cash into this team, sell a team, boost that team. The Rockies can be a cool team.
John Elway has dealerships all up and down I-25 there. I know it. Maybe he'll buy the Rockies.
Well, the Elway stuff with the Broncos didn't seem to work out too great, but it took Walmart to step in to fix that shit. But look, there's no shortage of rich fucking people out there willing to own professional sports teams.
Yeah, it's a money factory.
Yeah. I guarantee someone will pay their ownership a pretty penny to get in on the action.
Dude, if I had the money, that would be the first thing I would think about purchasing. Like if I won the lottery and I could get my hands on a professional sports team, that is immediately where I would get my money.
Any part of a professional sports team, because it is a money factory, like you're saying. You can't go wrong. You can have the worst deal ever to buy a sports franchise, and it will pay dividends. Absolutely.
It's crazy. Crazy. All right, brother. We done on baseball. We ready to switch over into a little bit of basketball?
Yeah.
Okay,
a little point of happiness in my life right now, for sure.
Fuck basketball, man. The Cavs are out. The Cavs got their asses beat in 5. It was a bad series. Injuries did not help. The shooting was atrocious. The shooting was bad. The runs that were allowed to happen in this series by both teams were kind of crazy. I know basketball is a streaky game, especially the NBA. It's a game of streaks. But I mean, 17-2 runs, 24-. It was insane how lopsided some of these games were. Then they come back. When you have a 24-point lead, you give that up. You're emotionally deflated. You're battling through injuries because a lot of your guys are banged the fuck up. Tough series. Good for the Pacers. Cavs, I think they're going to be back, man. Donovan Mitchell in his post-game presser was very heated. Fuck-filled press conference, which I love. Give me that real answer all day that people are going to be writing them the fuck off.
Look, like we were kind of talking, it felt weird to me. Like, injuries, I'm sure, played a role in this, but what the Cavs were this entire year and through that first series, they did not look like the same team against the Pacers in this series. I think it was game 2. It was a fucking blowout, I think, if I remember correctly. And it was rough watching that one. And they just did not look the same at all after that. They looked like a completely different team, and it didn't look as much like injury to me. It's almost like maybe they were full throttle the whole year, and then it just fell apart there at the end. And interesting stuff. I think Garland has now unfollowed a whole bunch of players and the team and stuff like that. There might be some shakeups there, but obviously you guys have a good team, a good roster. There just was some sort of an execution issue there at the end, or maybe they got burnt out. I don't know. Other interesting stuff though happening over there in the Eastern Conference. Celtics and Knicks series still going. Celtics currently lead that series 3-2, but big loss there for the Celtics. Tatum going down, torn Achilles. Kind of thought that was what it was when we watched it happen. The Knicks had looked like they were running away with things until the Celtics got one back last night, but I still kind of feel like the Knicks are going to come away with this. There's an emotional high from the Celtics playing at home last night, doing one for Tatum.
Yeah.
But the way Brunson has been playing, the way that team is kind of clicking, Cat looking real gay. Just the Knicks look that much better than the Celtics, and I don't think the Celtics are going to be able to kind of ride on the shoulders of Brown for that long. Big loss though there for Tatum and the Celtics, and obviously this is going to carry into next year because those Achilles injuries don't just clear up.
No, they don't. It really sucks for Tatum because he's going to miss at least half of next year, possibly all the way to the playoffs of next year. Obviously, he's an explosive athlete. he's a basketball player. He needs his fucking Achilles, and he needs to be fully healthy before he starts getting back on it. So that loss is huge to them. The Knicks were kind of already smacking them, though. The Knicks Pacers is going to be an interesting series. You guys go out, roll 4-1, waiting on your opponent, OKC over the Nuggets. That, man, I got to tell you right now, if I'm you, I think I'm kind of hoping for the Thunder at 1. I don't want to run into Jokic in the conference finals because you have no idea what's going to happen. He can pull a rabbit out of the hat.
Yeah, so of course for the household here, Hannah would like the Nuggets to get in. She doesn't know dick about basketball or the players or anything like that. But anything Colorado, she's stoked for, which is also why the whole Rockies thing, like, hey, you probably shouldn't wear your Rockies jersey. They're historically bad right now. She doesn't give a fuck. She just likes supporting it. But the Denver series last year between the Nuggets and the Timberwolves was a very hot contested series that the Wolves ended up winning. And I think we're a better team this year. But I have a lot more vitriol towards Nuggets players for whatever reason. Like it's tough for me to explain. Like Gordon in particular, I just fucking hate his face, man. I hate that dude with a passion. But Murray and his antics last year in the playoffs of, I can't remember if it was water or whatever that he threw on the court in mid-play, and the NBA just kind of slapped him on the wrist, and it's like you could have potentially seriously hurt someone. Fuck that guy. Jokic is scary. He is damn good, and that guy just goes full ogre sometimes. So I would like the Thunder scare me less for sure. But I've got reasons, like if we do end up playing the Nuggets, like that'll be a hot series. That'll be interesting because I think some tempers will probably flare again potentially. But look, I'm super stoked about my Wolves, the way they've been playing. They have looked absolutely dominant through both series that they played versus the Lakers and the Warriors now. And it feels like I haven't had this feeling about a basketball team since the Garnett, Latrell Sprewell, Sam Cassell days way back for the Wolves. And this is probably easily the best looking playoff team that they have ever had in the franchise history. Julius Randle, that trade, I wasn't so sure about, sending Cat away.
He's such a good stretch for, dude.
Yeah, but Randle did not look great at the beginning of this year. And then since, the last half of the year, and especially through this playoff series, he has been so fucking good. DiVincenzo, not so much. But this team, it feels like it's got the right mix of youth, guys who are hitting their prime, and some veteran players who still got that juice in the tank. Mike Conley, Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, oldest guys on the team, essentially. Joe Ingles to an extent, but he doesn't get to see any playing time, gets no minutes. But those guys are all playing really good ball. Conley just raining down some threes last night in that series. And Randle has been playing like MVP style basketball to complement the youth in Ant. I don't know what it is with him. He kind of plays like mediocre ball that first half and then goes full Mamba in the second. And I love that fucking attitude from him. Whoever wants it, bring that ass.
Bring that ass.
I feel really good about this Wolves team and their chances to make it to the championship this year. Obviously a new series starts and anything can happen. I'm glad that they're getting a little bit of rest right now. I hope that the Thunder and Nuggets take it to game 7. So that way we get more rest. Yeah, I'm super excited about this Wolves team. They're playing some damn good fucking basketball. And it feels like they are able to especially in this Warriors series, where this might have been the end of the Warriors dynasty. Yes, Curry not playing factors in, but also he's 37 years old. Injuries like that are going to happen. Draymond Green is old as fuck. And those comments about the media making me out to be an angry black man.
Black man,
yeah. Well, your history says you are an angry fucking malicious dude. It's an older team, man.
They're very
Jimmy
old.
Buckets. It was sweet to get revenge on him after his comments when he, coming in his last season there with the Wolves and being like, "You guys fucking need me. You can't win without me." Yeah, we can't We can't win without you out on the court. When you're with the other team, just giving up potential points and just continuing passing the ball, no aggression whatsoever. Like, that team is old. I think that their kind of run of being really good might be coming to an end.
Yeah. I would think that is probably right there at the end. As soon as Steph retires, everything there gets blown up. That's the only thing that's holding everything together. When Steph announces his retirement, everything gets pieced, parted. Whatever is left will be shipped off, trade acquisition. They'll be traded, fucking mid-level exemptions, whatever the fuck the NBA does.
Look, Kerr's a good coach. They've got some good pieces on that team. Kuminga, like, I
would imagine they're going to probably part ways with Steve as well. They're going to need a new set. I don't know if they're going to keep Steve Kerr.
Yeah, I think that they will at some point, for like when this thing ultimately blows up. But while I do think that this is the end of the dynasty, I think that they're going to say, like, we need to make like one last gasp, one last move to try to still keep this core intact. And I think Kuminga might be the guy that they're going to try to trade to get extra assets to get one last year out of this group. And I think that's going to be a big mistake, because Kuminga, the way that he played after being benched and having Jimmy Butler come in and kind of take his spot, the way that he played, he looked like the best guy on the court for that team when he was playing, getting plenty of minutes, plenty of points, very dominant. And that's the young type of player that you want to keep there if you want to build going forward. And I think they're going to leverage him to the rest of the NBA, trying to get someone else in, a couple other pieces to make one last run next year. And I don't think it's going to be successful. And ultimately, it'll be a failure for them letting him walk. And when the thing does fully crumble down, then yeah, it'll probably be Kerr's gone, and the rest of those guys retiring or shipped off. So we'll see.
Well, hey man, my team's out, so I'm rooting for your team. Go Timberwolves for the rest of the way. Fucking Pacers.
Bring that.
All right, man. Yeah. Are we ready to get out of the NBA? Let's start talking a little NFL. We had some. Go ahead.
I do have a question for you. Do you think the lottery's rigged?
It's 100% rigged. There's no way that it's not. Okay, so every time that something happens in the league, that team gets the next pick. Like LeBron, fucking Luka. What was the Jesus Christ? It's happened.
Davis,
like
Anthony
times.
Davis.
Yeah, it's happened so many times, man. Like, there's no way that I don't think it's not rigged. You can say whatever you want. There's no way of knowing. They have to do a normal ass fucking draft. It doesn't make sense to me.
And
I think the lottery is super
rigged. Of like, should the NFL do a draft lottery like the NBA?
No.
And I think this is the reason why. Like, it would be exciting, but also I don't think that there's a problem with the NFL draft and how they seed. Like, you're the worst team, you get the best pick. Like, that makes sense to me. And I know it's frustrating to some people to see the best players go to some of the teams that were the worst from the previous years. But that's how you get a better roster. Like, you inject it with young talent in the hopes that their ownership and coaching staff will develop that talent and build pieces around them and make them a more competitive team. Having a draft lottery allows people to make asinine moves like trading Luka, and Nico Harrison is not going to have the opportunity to bring Cooper Flagg in there, which it would be the funniest thing if he doesn't. That would be like, oh yeah, Nico's obviously really fucking bad at this job. If he were to trade that away or to not take Cooper Flagg.
I mean, he's the consensus guy, right?
By far and away.
Yeah. Like, I just don't know how you could even come out and say, unless you just want to believe that the NBA isn't rigged. But if you look at where these guys go, like, the writing is on the wall. LeBron goes to Cleveland. Of course he does. I mean, big athletic white. Of course he's going to Dallas. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, I would not. Like, what is odd to me, and in all transparency, this is the first year that I watched the draft lottery show, and I was blown away that you didn't see the draft lottery. Nope. You just saw motherfucker out there with cards being like, you're getting this pick, you're getting this pick. Where's the fucking ball wheel thing that drops the ball?
Where's the lottery?
Where's the actual lottery? Because there's no way that I can watch that and say there's not a high possibility that this was rigged. Not only is the team that did the thing and traded away a guy for what seems like peanuts to a big market team like LA, like the fact that we're not seeing how the soup is made makes me think that the soup is made with fucking dog and cat for sure.
Yeah, I agree, man. Like it's for sure rigged. I'm glad you brought it up because there's no way it's not. I don't know. So the NFL draft is good. You go in reverse order. There is some additional things that the NFL draft does though that create equity. I don't know if simply going in reverse order creates equity. Like the compensation picks because of the free agency, that really helps bring equity into what I think the NFL draft is. The NBA draft is, I mean, it's only 64 dudes, so it's very few guys.
Yeah.
And a lot of those motherfuckers don't ever end up contributing anyways. So the NBA draft is a weird beast, but I definitely think the lottery's right.
Yeah. Like they have to start showing how the picks are actually done lottery style. Otherwise, you're going to continue to get this narrative that, hey, this stinks to high hell.
All right, man. Let's transition. Let's get out of the NBA. Let's talk about the NFL. Big news coming out of New Orleans. Derek Carr has announced his retirement. I don't know if it was big news to the organization, but big news to the football world. It seemed like Derek Carr was going to hang on for as long as possible. Leaves a lot of money on the table, decided to hang it up, probably to just thrill Saints fans, the organization, because their salary cap issues that we have belabored for 2 years now suddenly become a lot more tenable. They can really kind of get out of the situation that they're in. They're going to need to find a good young quarterback. They may have one in Shuck. I don't think so, but huge news with Carr retiring. That team is either going to go gangbusters or they're going to be really bad because Shuck looks like he's probably going to end up being the guy. Maybe not in week 1, but he is going to start this year for them.
I think that there's a good chance that he could start just because they have a new head coach in there. And that's the guy that he drafted. And now there's an opportunity for an easy path. I think that probably right now, Spencer Rattler is the odds-on favorite to be day one starter. But the path for Shuck to earn that starting job pretty quick is absolutely there. I do think this situation is kind of, again, a little bit fishy. You go within a matter of a couple weeks of a Carr might not be able to play because of the shoulder injury to now he's retired, to the same day that or within 24 hours of him retiring, his wife posting up videos of him throwing the ball with the kids, playing golf, having a blast. That shoulder doesn't look that fucking bad. I don't know if this is an attempted pull like a Brett Favre, like retire and then come out, because it was pretty like the not necessarily well known, but like the family for Carr was making it seem like he really didn't want to play there anymore for the coaching staff.
Well, his brother certainly made it seem that way.
Kellen Moore is going to be like, I think, an enigma as far as like, are people hot on him or cold on him? I'm very cold on him. I don't think that he's that good of an offensive coach. Every time that he's gone to a place and had a good offense, they've had a good roster. The most recently, obviously in Philly, like one of the most stacked offensive rosters out there. You would have to be a complete buffoon to not find a way to make that offense good. But then you see him with bad teams and things don't go as well. And then you bring Brandon Staley in, and obviously the issues on defense with Brandon Staley are well documented with his time with the Chargers. And Brandon Staley had good years with, the Rams, but also you're talking about, you've got a incredibly good generational player on defense in Aaron Donald and stacked roster around you. It's, again, kind of tough to not look bad. And then you go to the Chargers, your defenses, which should be your bread and butter, are terrible. And the next year you bring in a guy like Minter and all of a sudden things are way fucking better. I think that this is the all potential team of, like, between Moore and Brandon Staley, those are two guys that have been benefactors of really good rosters. And the one thing the Saints don't have is a good roster. Starting at quarterback, Derek Carr was an average quarterback to begin with. He's a high volume guy, but a guy who's going to also put you in a lot of bad situations. And now he's gone, and you go from that, which was better than Shuck or Rattler, and you're just going to see a big drop off. Like, I'm not expecting a good year for the Saints. I didn't expect a good year for the Saints regardless, but like, I think that coaching staff is kind of ass. I think that roster is ass. And the fact that he's out there looking pretty fucking healthy, like, for all I know, good Christian man, family morals. Maybe he is just being like, I'm going to, while I still got my life ahead of me, I'm going to retire. I've made oodles of fucking money, and I'm just going to walk away into the sunset and enjoy the rest of my life. But a part of me is like, it just seems like odd timing, and that he might in a year be like, I got the itch again. I can go make some more money for someone. So it's a guy to watch for sure in the future. I don't expect this year anything to come from Carr, but I don't know that his playing career is necessarily done because he's still relatively young for a quarterback. I think he's 36 years old or something like that.
I'm about to look it up now. He is 34, so he's actually still very young.
Yeah. And in a league that's always strapped for quarterback talent, I could absolutely see someone, at least as a bridge situation, throwing some Papega at him to come and throw the ball.
Now, with his retirement, the Saints will retain his contract. Mm-hmm. If he comes out of retirement, that contract will either have to be void, paid, or traded. And that contract is not a good one to be traded. It's almost impossible to be traded. Because I think that if they could have traded it, they would have fucking done so. I just don't know how he's going to make it work, or if he does decide to come back, unless they can find a way to void the deal. I don't know how that works.
So some of the years aren't going to go away. The years, if he were to come back, yes, they still retain that contract and all the money involved in it. But the time, like, it's not like he's losing a year of his contract by being gone for a year this year.
Right. That coupled cap wise and all that other shit will come back if he comes back.
Right. But that coupled with a year away from football, you essentially are gaining a free year, albeit he's losing a year of his age. The cap just is going to continue to explode. His contract that is not good right now is going to still be there next year, except for what he's getting, $40 million, I think, a year average annual value or something like that. That is going to be looked at as kind of a bargain here in a year or so for a guy who's considered a starting level quarterback. That if there's a will, there's a way. And I think that there's a possibility that could happen.
All right. Well, listen, maybe it's not the last time we've seen Derek Carr. If it is, Derek, great career. Man, I thought that kid was going to be, I thought he was going to be amazing when he came into the league. That's who I wanted the Browns to draft. Didn't happen.
He has some very Brett Favrean characteristics as far as playing ability. Obviously not as terribly shitty of a person as Brett Favre.
Definitely
that we know of. That we know of.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah. But after the leg injury, I think it was the leg that broke his leg, he kind of struggled coming back from that. He was a good player, man. He's a baller. It was on an MVP pace at one point. Injuries just caught up to him. So if this is truly the last time, Derek, hey, brother, great career. And then maybe we'll see you on Sundays again, announcing with your brother, who I can't fucking stand.
You know what? His brother, while I don't really like him as an analyst, and he kind of just continually looks more and more like a douchebag with the haircuts and stuff. I think that he's one of those guys that kind of got fucked by the fact that he got drafted 1 overall to an expansion team that was not very good.
That's very true.
I think that he was actually somewhat talented, and given the right situation, he could have been a lot better.
Yeah, well, I mean, he got hit so many fucking times. Mm-hmm. So many times. All right. Let's get off of Derek Carr. Let's talk about other rookies coming in. So we talked a little bit about Tyler Shuck, but let's talk about our rookie minicamps. Storylines out of the Vikings minicamp that sparked your interest. Big storylines. Obviously, big storylines coming out of the Browns minicamp. I think everybody in the country knows about so far. So we'll let you go first, brother. Let's talk about the Vikings. What caught your interest?
Yeah, look, mine's going to be pretty short. Rookie minicamp is different for the Vikings than some other rookie minicamps for other teams. Um, the Since Kevin O'Connell has come in there, their rookie minicamp is extreme low tempo, extremely low. They are doing more about wanting to meet the player, for especially the tryout guys, and UDFAs. They want to meet the player. They want to introduce them to the facilities, see how they mesh and meld with other people. But the on-field stuff, offenses can't be on the field at the same time as the defense. It's very limited time that they're allowed to be on the field at all. And you've already seen some players, some notable players, go down with bad injuries where they're out for the year. In some of these camps. And since Kevin O'Connell's been there, it's been, hey, we're going to keep this extremely low tempo. We already have a whole bunch of film on you. We already have an idea of who you can be. Let's see if you're still the same person that we want in our house, for at least training camp to compete for a roster spot. And so they keep that stuff real low tempo to prevent the injuries. They don't want, at this point in time of the year for a guy to get hurt and then the team has cap liability when a player gets injured at these camps or anything like that. So they keep it real low tempo. We had a small draft class, but a big UDFA class. We brought in 2 of our tryout players, gave them contracts to come be participating in training camp. So I think that, for the most part, this Vikings roster is really fleshed out already. It'll always be cool to kind of see some of these young guys, see if they can make the roster or not. But as of right now, like, I don't really have a whole lot to say because there wasn't a whole lot derived from this camp because it was, only one day open to the media and they're keeping things, again, real low tempo, real easy going. One guy that I wish would have made it is Randy Moss's son. We were his only invite. He wasn't even extended, a UDFA offer or anything like that. But that would be cool to see a legacy guy be able to come in and make it. As of right now, was just given a tryout at this rookie minicamp and no contract. And that was the only one that he had received up to that point, was from the Vikings.
I might have been a favorite of Randy, but it would be super cool. I mean, I love seeing the legacy stories. Listen, I'm rooting for Bronny, man. Like, I hope he ends up being a good, serviceable player in the league after everything that has happened and gone on. Because those are cool stories. But let's talk about the Browns minicamp because it was very different than the Vikings minicamp. They competed. They wanted to compete. Running backs competing immediately. I'm kind of pumped for both of our running backs. Sampson and Judkins are going to be a nice little tandem. Sucks to not have Nick Chubb back. He is still right here, but he's 100% probably not coming back.
With Barry's comments.
Yeah. Barry's comments basically shut the door completely. However, it is not completely done yet. I guess technically an injury could happen and Nick comes back into the fold. But I would imagine another team who is in need of a running back, Dallas, should maybe call Nick Chubb and see if he's serviceable.
I've been hearing a lot of rumors about him talking with the Bears and whatnot as well, NFC North teams.
Yeah, I think he should go down to Dallas. But regardless, the quarterbacks competed. Man, and from all reports, we got 2 guys that are pretty good at football. Shedeur Sanders is spectacular, according to reports. Looked like the best player in camp. That's from national media. Listen, if LaShawn McCoy goes on TV and says that he's hearing from people that he knows that Shedeur Sanders is like the best guy in camp, I'll believe that. He looked pretty fucking good from the things that I saw as well. Are there things that you don't love about Shedeur Sanders? Sure, yeah, his passes float. They flutter. So did fucking Peyton Manning's. I don't care. But you know what else is encouraging? Is the way that not only that Shedeur handled the media, but Dylan Gabriel handled the media because he's being completely overshadowed in this entire camp. He's out there competing and doing a good fucking job, apparently. The top 2 quarterbacks are going to probably end up being Dylan and Shedeur. I just don't think that you can make those 2 guys start, either one of them start immediately in the season. I foresee that both of those guys make the roster and we keep Kenny Pickett, who we send to the Wolves early in the season, and then we test out both of those guys at the end. I think Joe Flacco ends up getting cut or traded to somebody who is gone, and Deshaun Watson will be pupped and insurance money collected. So I'm very encouraged by the things that I heard and saw out of the mini camp with the quarterbacks. I think they handled the media well. I think they both played well. And the only guy that I heard say that Gabriel outperformed Shedeur was Tony Grossi. Tony Grossi, ESPN reporter here in Cleveland, has been doing it a long time. He's been around a long time and is a very accomplished journalist. But he doesn't know his ass from his elbow when it comes to evaluating quarterbacks. Anybody that I believe in when they talk about quarterbacks has said Shedeur looked fantastic. I'm very encouraged, man.
You sound a little like Mel Kiper there. They don't know how to draft quarterbacks. They don't know how to evaluate quarterbacks.
Well, he doesn't. I mean, I'm sorry.
Look, if I was in the same position as you, I would probably be hanging on every word from any reports that I could get about the camp. I always say this about training camp, that you hear so much from teams like, oh, these guys look really good in camp and blah, blah, blah. And I try to not really give too much credibility to it, just because it is training camp. That is where you're supposed to not look good. You're supposed to work out the kinks and develop, and you have your defense going against your offense. And, if one squad looks better than the other, you shouldn't take that as necessarily a good thing. That could be a bad thing. And like, I just don't give a whole lot of credibility until we start seeing the play on the field. And I give even less credibility to rookie mini camps, because
stop shitting on my fun. All right.
I know.
I have two fucking quarterbacks that I'm excited about when I haven't had one quarterback to be excited about in 5 years.
And I think you should be excited about those guys and the potential that there is for them there, because I think both of them provide potential outcomes that are going to be very positive for the team.
I think either one of them are going to improve the quarterback spot over what we've had over the last couple of years.
For sure. Like, I think both of them are better than what you've had over the last several years. I'm not one, like, you watch those slow-mo videos of the quarterback throwing the ball, and you're like, that looks like a pretty damn good throw. But they're throwing with no pass rush, no pads. Like, if they don't look good, that's a serious problem. Like, that's a serious fucking problem.
You mean like Tyler Shutt's throwing at the fucking combine?
Yeah. But like, I saw the Jackson Dart throws. Those throws looked fucking phenomenal. Yeah. And I have to say, like, if I was a Giants fan, I would be feeling I'd be like, God damn, this guy looked like he's got shades of Josh Allen in him. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, him spinning the ball in his hand before throwing, that don't mean shit. It don't mean shit. Like, until the pass rush starts coming and the pressure's on and all that. Again, I hope the best for both Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur. I've seen reports as well, like, the Browns are still kind of wary about, his camera crew following him around and the extra media and stuff like that.
Oh, come on. There is no way that can be a legitimate concern after what just happened. I think maybe that's the only reason it is a concern after what just happened with Deshaun Watson.
I could see that being a legitimate concern, but again, I don't even give credibility to that reporting, because again, it's minicamp, and he is one of the hottest names coming out of this draft, one of the biggest storylines.
Number one selling fucking rookie jersey.
Yeah,
there's fifth round pick.
It's a good storyline, so there's going to be tons and tons of conjecture about the situation. We just really have to take all of it with a grain of salt until the pads are on.
He's the best player out of this whole draft, all right?
Okay. Yeah. Here we go.
Listen, you were bullish on fucking JJ McCarthy last year. I was not as high.
Absolutely.
And you know what? I'm bullish on fucking Shedeur. I'm riding with my dude. But I got to tell you, if for some reason Dillon wins the job, I'm rocking with Dillon too. I'm good with fucking either one of them. I have no allegiances to either one of them specifically. I'm rooting for Shedeur, but as long as one of them's fucking good, I don't give a shit which one it is.
Yeah, look, we are like diehard fans of our teams. Yes. We are going to have takes about our teams that are absolutely rose-colored glasses. 100%. For sure. Like
100%.
mine right now is that I think the Vikings have one of the better rosters in the NFL, and they're being overlooked heavily by the bookies and odds makers and stuff like that because JJ McCarthy's an unknown. But I feel so fucking good about JJ. Like without stepping on the field and playing an actual NFL play yet, I feel like he is doing every single
Listen, bro,
thing right.
when he spins the ball, it doesn't mean shit.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. But he looked good with Justin Jefferson courtside last night, and all the stuff that he's been doing. Like the way that he talks, it just makes me feel like he's the next guy. And this you Amber clip it. I think that he could have the next kind of projectable future as the Patrick Mahomes, not the first guy taken in the draft, but ends up being like the best quarterback out of that draft, perennial top 10 type of player. Like I think he's got that potential in him, and he's being overlooked because, again, looking back to his time in Michigan, didn't have to throw the ball as much because they had such a good roster and were able to run the ball. The Vikings have set up basically that same sort of a system. We've got a fantastic offensive line, the ability to run the ball now. The pressure isn't going to be put on him to always have to throw the ball, but when he needs to throw the ball, he's done a damn good job of it in the past. I think he'll be able to do that in the future. I'm super excited for the JJ McCarthy era to start. I'm bullish on my team, just like you're bullish on your team.
My man,
your quarterback.
Basically everything that you just said changed Vikings to Browns, JJ to Shedeur, and it's the same way I feel.
Absolutely.
Listen, I'm very excited, and you know what? They may be rose-colored glasses because we actually have to transition into the NFL schedule because the Browns schedule is hard as fuck. It's really, really not good, which is okay considering we don't have to win this year. We have 2 first-round picks next year with the Jags pick and our pick. Our schedule is absolutely fucking brutal. But before, I don't want to dive into just the one. Are there any specific storylines you want to talk about? Hardest schedules, easiest schedules, where you want to go down, or do you want to talk about Browns? Do you want to talk about Vikings, and then we'll go from there?
Well, I think that a good starting point is talking about that strength of schedule. Now, strength of schedule doesn't matter too much. You have to really start to contextualize this. Strength of schedule is based off of the last season and how teams played. The hardest strength of schedule this year goes to the Detroit Lions. Their strength of schedule is actually tied for second with I believe is it no. They had the hardest strength of schedule.
I'm pulling it up.
And fall right behind with the Giants and then your Browns. My Vikings have the 6th hardest. The Bears have the 4th hardest. The NFC North is getting like they have a tough schedule in general this year, which makes sense because they are, I think, the best division in football right now, talent wise. It is going to be a tough slog for that NFC North, which actually plays into the NFC North schedule, especially for my Vikings, really well because, like, I would love to have some easy games going into the postseason, but we don't have that. We are playing the Lions on Christmas week 17 and the Packers week 18, both home games, both games that are probably going to be, you know, at least as of right now, seem like they could be choosing the winner of the NFC North at that point. But we both have real tough schedules. Your Browns, obviously, like I said, 3rd hardest schedule. Yeah. It's going to be a tough slog for these teams.
Yeah, it really is going to be a tough slog. The Lions are well equipped to go out and play a tough schedule. Obviously, they're a very, very good team. The Bears coming up with a tough schedule. You brought it up. Your NFC North has a bunch of these teams. AFC North has a bunch of tough games as well because AFC North plays NFC North. AFC North also, I believe, playing AFC East this year. So we got Bills, we got Jets, we got Dolphins, Patriots, who are much improved. So
you guys are playing NFC North as well, I believe, because we got
AFC East, NFC North, and then a couple of still tough ones that randomly tossed in throughout there. So
yeah. Look, that'll kind of probably lead us into our teams. Some real interesting primetime games in general throughout the year.
Not for me, dog. Not for me, dog.
Well, that's the thing. So my Vikings, just chocked full of primetime or standalone games. A big storyline is going to be the NFL's continual expansion into outside of continental U.S. games. My Vikings have four primetime games, but 3 games that are also considered standalone games. So they have Monday Night Football week 1 against the Bears in Chicago. Week 2, Sunday Night Football, home versus the Falcons. We play the Bengals at home, and then we go overseas to Dublin to play the Steelers. And the next week, we stay out there to play your Browns in London. First time an NFL team has played back-to-back European games in 2 different countries. I believe the Jags last year did it, but they stayed in the same country the whole time. So that'll be the first time for an NFL team doing that. And I think that it brings up a conversation about what the NFL is trying to do. Obviously, they're trying to spread this game out internationally. It's the National Football League, but they're trying to go international as much as possible. We have games in Brazil. We got games in Germany. We got games in Dublin, London, all over the place. I think that the NFL's ultimate goal within the next decade is to expand, to add at least 1 team, if not 2 teams, because 1 team doesn't make sense. Then you have an odd amount of teams. But if they were to expand, I think their plans of
Mexico City, London.
I think that they're going to be looking to try to add 4 teams. A European division that would be unique. Unlike any other division in football, you have divisions in the NFC and the AFC. This new division would be the European division with 2 teams aligned to the NFC, 2 teams aligned to the AFC. It would be a scheduling nightmare to figure out how to get those teams to be able to. You're talking about a team, and ran the numbers here. A flight from LA to all the way, it's better to do this from East Coast to West Coast because the flights are shorter. But having to do with like Jetstream stuff or whatever, or excuse me, longer because of Jetstream stuff. But a flight from, we'll say, Jersey for either the Jets or Giants all the way out to LA is like a 6-hour and 50-minute flight. And a flight from the East Coast out to Europe is about a 7-hour flight. So it's about the same flight distance. However, you're talking about teams having to do that really regularly. And if you're talking about one of those teams over in London having to come all the way out and play the Rams with the Chargers, that's an insane trip that they're having to do. It has to be coupled with a bye week of some way, but that also creates a disadvantage because you're not getting to truly have your bye week. It's a very, very interesting situation how that schedule will work out. And I don't know how they would make it work. But I think that's the NFL's ultimate goal, is that they want permanent fixtures inside of Europe. And I don't know if there's any franchises that would be good as far as a franchise moving to Europe. The Jags were kind of thought of at some point, but I still don't think that that's a good option. Expansion is the way to go. Expanding beyond 32 teams is the way to go. And there is no shortage of money. We talked about this earlier. No shortage of money out there that would love to own a professional sports franchise. I guarantee you've got Qatarians and people from Saudi that want to get in on owning these professional
Saudi
franchises.
Money will fucking come in and fill up bank accounts, no problem. Yeah. They will show up and fill up whatever bank account you want if it involves sports.
And it's going to be really weird because, we talk about players going to certain places here in the U.S. and the taxes involved with that. Even California, but some of the worst taxes in the U.S. don't hold a shade compared to European taxes. Getting players to say, I'm going to go live in Europe, I'm going to pay European taxes, and I'm going to have to deal with all the extensive travel, that's going to be a really tough sell. The CBA is going to have to dramatically change to allow that. Some sort of benefit to the player financially for living over there would have to probably come into play. But I think that ultimately, whether or not, because the players don't want that. The Vikings players, while I think that there are some big advantages to us playing these 2 games overseas, the Vikings players don't like the fact that at the end of the day, they have to go to Europe for 2 weeks and completely throw their schedule off. There's stuff that we as fans don't think about, like the logistics of the team going over to Europe, even for just 1 game. You are moving every staff member over there for a week. You are moving essentially your weight room. You have to find good places for the players to stay and practice. Eat American style foods because they can't just be going over there and having nothing but potatoes and fucking sausages.
Yeah,
like they need
beans.
Yeah. Like there is so much logistically that goes into it. These players have, sorry for the Deshaun fans out there, but there's massage therapists out there that these players see every week, not always getting handies, and throwing that sort of a schedule off, like that is a huge part of player recovery, is the specialists that they see outside of the team that they see regularly. They're not going to get that now for at least a week. For the Vikings case, potentially 2 weeks, unless these guys come out of pocket to start flying over specialists to come see them and stuff like that. There's huge logistics involved with it that we don't even see as fans, other than just the time zone change. That is huge hurdles to come over, but there's definitely, at least I know for my Vikings, some benefit in this, because the Vikings have one of the largest fan bases in Europe of any football team, just because they're Vikings and the European stuff.
You brought this up earlier, and I believe you, brother. I absolutely do. But when you talk about an advantage and the Browns and fans that travel and Browns backers, you would be, I think, shocked at how big it is. There are Browns backers bars everywhere. There's a Browns backers Iran, for fuck's sake. Like they are everywhere. So the Browns rolled deep. Now,
trying to not say a skin color joke here.
No, Jesus. Okay. So it kind of sucks.
Keeping it raw.
You talked about the fact that the Vikings are going to be in fucking London multiple times, but they're playing the Browns. We had planned to try to do a live podcast from the Muni Line for that game because we knew the Browns were hosting. Now it's over in London. I don't know if we're going to be able to afford to go. I would love to go.
Yeah.
The game is going to be impossible to get tickets to, I feel like. However, if we can make it happen, I want to. And if we do, we got to find some people to interview. I know there's Paul Brown, UK, big Browns fan. So we're going to have to do some research if we ever do make it over there for this. But you guys having that many primetime games, standalone games, it's got to be kind of cool that you're going to get a lot of people to see your team, whereas nobody's going to fucking see my team other than 9:30 in the morning when we play you guys. That's our only standalone game. We are 1 o'clock basically every week, with the exception of a 4:25 start and a 4:05 start. But I got to tell you, I love it. I love Sunday 1 o'clock games. I get to watch my team. I get to watch all the afternoons. I can lock in on Thursday, Sunday night, Monday, where I can really gamble and I can just focus on my team when I want. I actually love Sunday 1 o'clocks. I don't particularly love the primetime games.
Like there's obviously something about primetime games that's really fun to watch, and it's exciting that not only do you get to watch your team, but like you know that everyone in the nation gets to watch your team, and hopefully that bodes out well. But there is absolutely pressure with it. Like as a fan, I feel extra pressure for my team because of those primetime games. So you know that brings some extra pressure for the players. Like I said, 7 standalone games for my Vikings. Monday Night Football week 1, Sunday Night Football week 2, 2 games in Europe, Thursday Night Football week 8 in LA versus the Chargers, another Sunday night in week 15 versus the Cowboys, Christmas Day game versus the Lions, 7 standalone games. I think that kind of shows you that while the odds makers are saying we don't know what the Vikings are going to be because of JJ McCarthy, the NFL itself is saying this is a team that won 14 games last year, improved their roster, and after we saw all of the good play from those first round quarterbacks last year, JJ McCarthy, why would he be the outlier from that? He probably has a little bit of something, not to mention one of the best quarterback coaches in Kevin O'Connell in the league, who's made guys like Sam Darnold look pretty good. Like if that team is what I think it is, it kind of seems like the NFL is also leaning towards that as well, because giving 7 standalone games to the Vikings kind of projects that they think that they're going to be a competitive team and a fun one to watch, which just makes me even more excited for the season. And look, to be honest, I am probably going to travel to Minnesota this year to catch one of these games, and I'm going to try to make sure it's a primetime game. Focus sites, ticket price wise, are probably for that Falcons Sunday night in week 2. Just because, look, I would love to go to that Packers game week 18, even though it's not primetime. But the prices are going to be insane. That London game versus your Browns, again, tickets aren't even available yet, but looking historically at tickets, insanely priced, not to mention going over the pond, like like expensive as hell. Lots of fun opportunities here, but it is a tough schedule.
Tough schedule for sure. Listen, producer and Amber and I talked about going. We wanted to go to Europe this year because we knew the Browns were gone. Sucks that it's the Vikings. We still might try to go. I don't know what's going to happen, but our schedule is just fucking impossible, man, to navigate, especially early in the year. Bengals, Ravens, Packers, Lions, Vikings, Steelers, Dolphins, Patriots, then a bye week. So those are teams that are better than us or are drastically improved from last year. Every single one of them. We're going to send, in my opinion, Kenny Pickett out to slaughter, as we should, while we groom a couple of rookies behind him. And then after the bye week, we'll come out and send one of these rookies out against the Jets. And then we'll see what happens. And we'll figure out which one of these guys can play at the end of the year. But looking at my schedule, man, third toughest schedule, I like our draft. But there are still holes. And with this onslaught, like, it's going to be almost impossible. At Ravens, at Lions, at Steelers, at Patriots, first 4 road games. That's a tough road to hoe. If I do make it any trips anywhere, I might hit my buddy Mike Sweet up in the Michigan area, so you can go hit up a Lions Browns game.
Yeah, that's look. I don't. Looking at my. Do you have any games in your schedule that you feel are like, hey, this is definitely gettable for us? Like, not just being bullish, but like ones where you're like, yeah, this should hopefully be a rest week, even though it's not a bye week.
No, rest week, no. Titans, Bears, Jets are our easiest opponents. Outside Raiders, but Raiders are going to be drastically improved with the addition of quarterback and a running game. 49ers, I think they have a down year last year. But like our schedule is just fucking atrocious. It's so hard.
Yeah, that's the thing is you're also getting the Bears at the bad time of year for it. They are a team with some talent on it. The question mark is at quarterback and whether or not Ben Johnson is going to make an impact that quick. But by week 15 playing the Bears, they should have hit their stride. They should have things starting to click and work. We don't know what the Bears are going to be at the beginning of the year, which is why I'm excited for my Vikings to be able to play them week 1, Monday Night Football, all sorts of pressure on that team to see who they are and who they can be. I look at my Vikings schedule and I feel good about those first 5 weeks before we hit our bye week. Bears, Monday Night Football, again, the same reasons why I said I don't know if they're going to be clicking on all cylinders yet. I think that we have a chance to beat them. Falcons, Sunday Night Football, week 2. I don't have confidence in that defense still. Michael Penix will be the quarterback, which should help a little bit, but I still don't think that they're as good of a team as my Vikings, and I think that we got a good chance to beat them. Bengals, while they're going to have that explosive offense, they also are going to allow 40 points on defense because they have so many defensive woes. Steelers, if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback or not, I think that we are a better roster. They got a good defense, but I like our odds against them. And then, sorry, your Browns, like you said, you might be putting out a Kenny Pickett out there.
Yeah.
And I feel like our odds against a Kenny Pickett, especially with us having acclimated to Europe and be out there for 2 weeks by that time, you guys having to do the travel at that point, I think we got a good odds of being able to beat you guys there. Hit the bye week, and that's when things get tough. After the bye week, with the Eagles, the Chargers, Lions, Ravens, and then we play the Bears in week 11 when they should probably be starting to hit that stride. And there's really no reprieve for the rest of the year. Packers, Seahawks. Seahawks with Sam Darnold is going to be interesting. Obviously, if Sam Darnold is anything but he was last year, that could be a tough game.
Yeah.
I don't think he will be, personally. Maybe it's already Milrow o'clock out there in Seattle by then.
Hey, by the way, also looks good throwing the ball on fucking air.
Right. Commanders are going to be a tough game. Cowboys, that offense could very well be good. And now with the addition of George Pickens, which we really haven't talked about yet. And then we have the Giants in New York at week 16. That's probably our easiest game towards the end of the year. However, I think the Giants are going to be one of the more improved teams this year. I think they're going to be a little bit of a surprise, much closer to a 500 record, kind of like what I projected the Commanders to be last year, except for the Commanders even outpaced my projection there. And then Lions and Packers to finish off the year, which is just going to be a tough, brutal fight unless one of those two teams has turned out to not be very good. It's a tough one for my Vikings. I think we're going to get off to a hot start, and then we're going to have a rough go for the rest of the year. It's going to be battles all the way down to the end. The problem is that we were a good team last year. We got a really good roster. Like, that's the type of football that we should be playing, should be competitive, and should be winning. I still see us being able to get to double-digit wins, and we just got to start getting those playoff wins under our belt.
Okay, I was going to ask you, where do you see your team landing? We're not going to do the predictions yet. Who wins what game? Because we're gonna go through all that as the season gets a little closer. But right now, how do you feel? Where do you feel like your team falls? And while you do that, I'm gonna sprint upstairs and take a piss, because if I don't, I'm gonna piss my pants.
All right. So, like I said, week 1 through 5, I think all those games are gettable for my Vikings. I could see us coming out of that 5-0, 4-1 at worst, which sets you up really good, record wise going into that bye. But then how tough it is after that, another 12, 11 games after that, 12 games. I think that we would be lucky to split that just because of the level of competition that we're going to be playing. That would put us right around that 10 win to 11 win record, which is generally where I kind of see this team being. Is that a downgrade from last year? Yes. However, last year, like this team was not playing that same level of competition. They won the early games that were against really good teams, which wasn't projected. I thought the team was going to be good last year, but they well exceeded my projections there. I think the team's going to be good this year, and I think they're going to do worse than 14 wins. That's unsustainable every year. But I think double-digit wins is definitely in the cards. And at the end of the day, I honestly don't really care how many wins we get as long as we get into the playoffs. Because after a schedule like this, making it to the playoffs is pretty damn good. It's going to be tough. The one thing that I kind of feel we have going for us is the fact that the NFC North, again, best division in football in my opinion right now, they are also having to play this schedule for the most part. They have just as tough of a road. The Lions have the hardest schedule in football, and they're doing that without their offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator from years past. And so they might take a pretty decent dip from last year.
I heard double digits while I was upstairs taking a piss.
Yeah, that's like I said, weeks 1 through 5. I think we could go 5-0, 4-1 through that time. That's a little bit bullish, and then it gets hard after that. The next 12 games, I think if we split that 500, that gets us to 10 to 11 wins, and 10 to 11 wins, I think, should get us into the playoffs at that point. And so that's right around where I'm at. The over under on the Vikings, I think, is 8.5. I feel like we are a 10 or better win team, despite the fact that this is an extremely grueling schedule to go through. And like I said, if we come out firing weeks 1 through 5 and we get 4-1, 5-0 through that stretch, then we have to split the rest of the games, and we are a 10-win team. And I think that's good enough to be a playoff team.
All right, so you feel like you are a playoff team. I'm very happy for you. I think you guys are also probably a playoff team. We're gonna have to see what JJ does. For my team, I have no delusions that we're gonna have a good year. This schedule is almost impossible to navigate with rookie quarterbacks and guys who are either unproven or well past their prime. We might get a win in week 1 just because the Bengals historically start slow as shit. But
that's also a reason why I'm looking forward that we're playing the Bengals at home week 3.
Yeah.
Historically bad there to start off.
Yeah, but after that we go at Ravens, Packers, at Lions, Vikings, Steelers. Like, it's just going to be so difficult. This Browns team, while I think that they can be competitive, if the plan goes as I think it will, where we start the season with Kenny Pickett, this is a 3 or 4 win Browns team. If for some reason something happens and one of these guys, Gabriel or Shedeur, wins right out of camp, gets the starting job, there's not going to be a grooming period. They just win the job. I think they could win more, because that means clearly somebody has proven that they can then can hold down that job, that they've proven they can win that job. And I like our offensive weapons and the additions that we have made. David Njoku is a dog. Fannin, in addition to him in that tight end room, is going to be super special and fun as shit to watch with Kevin Stefanski's offense. Like, it's going to go crazy. The running backs, like, I think there are a lot of young, super talented pieces on offense if one of these quarterbacks emerges. But if that doesn't happen, what could we realistically expect? It took 3 or 4 wins. Kenny Pickett is not going to go out there and beat all of these top tier teams early in the season. Like, we're playing playoff teams early in the season. We don't get to the easy fuckers until week 10, 11. And even then, they're not that easy. It's the NFL, and these
say week 11. That's not an easy game. Week 11 is the Ravens, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 12. The Raiders.
Yeah.
12. I forgot the bye week in there.
Yeah, look, I'm interested to see. Like, Pickett's probably the right answer to start off the year, and you always do want to sit those rookies and allow them to mature and get better in the NFL system. How forced feet to the fire do you think that Stefanski's going to feel early on to start one of these guys? Because Pickett doesn't give you a whole lot of hope. But if you're Stefanski, you got to show progress. You got to show wins. Like, if you put in a Dylan Gabriel or a Shedeur Sanders in like week 10 time frame after that bye, and they start to look like they are good, that might be enough for you to kind of hold on to your job from there. But like, if I'm not getting told early on, if I'm Stefanski, that, hey, your job is safe, we understand that this is a developmental year for these quarterbacks, I think the pressure is going to be there for him to start these guys maybe prematurely.
I don't know if the pressure is there because of where they were taken. If he's taking it 2, where I wanted to take Shedeur, massive pressure. Dylan Gabriel is taken in the 3rd round. Shedeur Sanders taken in the 5th round. No pressure at all due to that. Big name, yes, but why are guys forced into playing? Because the money dictates that they see if they can play. The money doesn't dictate that with either one of these guys right now. So
I'm not talking about
sit there and wait. Now, but for Stefanski, he doesn't have to force it because I think he's been given assurances. Could you really say, Kevin, AB, we're not going to take a guy in the 1st round? We're going to trade down. You guys are going to trade down. This is a great idea. Trade down, and we're going to keep your jobs. They have to have something, right? They have to know something that they would like.
You would hope so. You would hope that those assurances would be in place, but how much can you trust those assurances? I don't know.
So listen, Jimmy kind of has held by his word with these gentlemen. The first time he's done it, but with these guys, he said we're going to establish some continuity. These guys have had success, and he didn't tuck tail and run at the first sign of distress after success. So maybe Jimmy is turning over a new leaf. I know I'm not ready to fucking announce that to the world and be like, oh yeah, Jimmy's gonna be just fine. Because no, he's fucking still batshit crazy. He could do anything at any time. He's a billionaire who lies about gas for truck drivers. Like, so he's a shady fuck, but
yeah, I'm not saying pressure to play these guys because of their draft status or anything. Just, I think you and I are both in agreement that Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders are the 2 best quarterbacks on the roster, which means that they give you the best opportunity to win. And if winning is the ultimate currency in the NFL, you want to give your best chance to win, even though it could potentially hurt those guys long-term in their career if you start them too early. What kind of the beauty of the situation is that
you got 2 of them.
You got 2 of them. So you don't have to play in both.
Yeah.
You might be able to get a potential roster uplift, win uplift from playing one of them early. And then when that guy ultimately has, or could potentially ultimately have, a derailed career because of having to start early and go through such a tough schedule and not have success, then you have the guy who was sitting behind him, who's fresh, who doesn't have to, who can sit there and say, those bad years are behind us. That wasn't my fault because I didn't play.
Right.
And now I've matured for a year and I'm good to go. That opportunity is there. It is going to be very interesting to see which one of those guys starts first and when they start, because I think it's going to say a lot.
Yeah, I don't know which one it's going to be, but I think we see both of them start at some point this year, based on the quarterback room and the schedule.
Yeah, also going to be a fun preseason. I would have to imagine you're going to find a way to some of those preseason games.
I will probably figure that out.
Just because both of them are going to see considerable time, I would assume.
I would imagine. We'll probably not see a lot of Joe. I don't know what the hell they're going to do with Joe. There's just too many guys. There's too many guys in that fucking room.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I don't think we're doing full on win totals, win losses.
No. We don't. We're gonna go through predictions later in the year. Who's winning what in terms of divisions, games, awards. We just wanted to talk about the NFL schedule because it was apparently super important this year that the NFL schedule was released and that you knew what day it was being released. Nothing special fucking happened. I don't understand why they even made this push. When we heard the announcement during the draft, it's like, oh, they're trying to make the NFL schedule release a thing. But we have known the teams for fucking forever. The schedule release videos are cool sometimes. Sometimes they're crappy. Sometimes they're too funny and you have to pull them down. Chargers, which, by the way, you shouldn't have pulled it down. It was not offensive at all.
Yeah.
It was what happened.
It's also the digital age. It will live forever. Pulling it down doesn't do anything other than hype it up more. So maybe it was a genius plan by the Chargers.
Maybe it was. There's an intern that definitely got fired, but it was probably still a good plan.
Yeah. That intern's name is Connor Stallions, by the
way. Yeah. Okay. Oh, of course it was. All right, guys. Hey, you ready to get out of here, man? I don't think we got anything else.
No, I think that's about it, buddy.
All right, guys. Hey, this is Raw Dog Sports. I'm Mike. That is Evo. We're going to be back next week. We're going to be back basically every week. We're going to be giving you raw takes, giving you just a couple of dummy, thick idiots who get to enjoy talking about sports with each other. And you guys, thank you for comments. Thank you for interactions. We appreciate everybody here. Before I wrap us up, Evo, give the people one last word.
Hey, onwards and upwards, baby. Wolves back and bring that ass.
Bring that ass. Guys, this is Raw Dog Sports. I'm Mike. That's Evo. Anytime you spend some time with us, we are forever grateful. Time is the most valuable commodity that you have. So if you would not mind, if you could spend a little bit more time, head over to our YouTube, like, share, subscribe. It would mean a great deal to us. But with that, we're going to get the fuck out of here. We will be back next week. See ya!